Ashley. Overall, nice job here. I kind of like where this is going with the background. You may want to add, if you're going to do this kind of lit thing, you might want to, add a little bit more details to, create a light source or like a spotlight or something. The background just looks a little bit empty. And I think I might have mentioned this last week. I would suggest putting your text, each word on a different layer. Then you can really move it around because some of this text is hard to read. You really want to, get a good amount of contrast with the text. I wouldn't use too much of the warp stuff. I think that it looks a little bit, cliche. A little bit goes a long way, but you might want to just try it without it. But I was kind of thinking of, I don't know if you had a chance to look at some of these examples, but if you put the text, each word on a different line, you can really move it around. And this is like a couple different fonts. And again, you can see the style with the stroke. Same here. Most all of them have, by this time they ended up, this is a little overdone, because you can kind of see her spotlight idea and the crowd and so on, even though I'm not saying for you to do it because it probably isn't all that appropriate for, for the computer. A few other things I would mention, I would make this part a little bit bigger. I would also work a little bit more on the way these are connected to this foot, just because, or you can even try something else because this part doesn't look cohesive. I think it's a great idea because I think that it really works to have some green down there. But it just looks a little bit like it's sitting on top. And that's the problem when you have these flat backgrounds. It ends up kind of looking like it's sitting on top. Another thing I was going to mention this last time too, is you might want to take some of these keys and separate them and then make them bigger. Because if you make a few bigger, they're really going to look like they're coming forward. So it's going to be a little bit more, it'll just look more interesting. You could also color these if you wanted to, just, where are they? Dun, 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 dun. If you click a letter above, and I'm just going to do this green because it's the one I have open. But if you go and lower the opacity, really pretty low, and then you can just kind of paint on them if you want. I'm just saying, if you want, because then it'll add a little bit more color. And again, I'm doing this really sloppy. But again, so if you do that, let me see another color here. I'm not saying to get out of control with this at all because it's easy to overdo this stuff. But again, just lower the opacity. This is at 23, even less. And then you can, you can just see what, and again, if you do it above, and I would make a different layer, like this is on the same layer, I would make a different layer above because, then you can just turn it off. Like now these are together. So if I wanted to get rid of them, I could just easily select it and delete it. But it just, that's what layers are for. So, and I just think if some of these here were, were bigger, it would really look more like, it was coming forward. And, conversely, these could be smaller. Because just like where these connect, that's a little bit of a problem right through here. Same with the way that these connect. And I would spend a little bit of time kind of really refining these areas. You could also, if you wanted to, since this looks kind of, I don't know, it doesn't have the same clarity as the rest of your images. So, you could also go in and paint something there if you wanted. I'm going to make the brush bigger. This is just one way to deal with stuff. There's so many different things in Photoshop to do. And I'm not saying to do this. I'm doing this really sloppy. But again, it just could add a little bit to it. Another thing I would suggest is to maybe just really, just work with rotating some of this stuff. Because this is what the last couple of weeks are, is really, kind of really refining all this stuff. I'd probably make it I don't know, that might be too big. But, so again, just play with it and just really think of the personnel. That's too big. But you kind of know what I'm saying. I would make where's that back one? The back one's just a little bit hard to see. So that definitely, and if you hold the shift key down, you won't distort your, You see, even bigger, I think, looks a little, I know this is really tiny, but I think bigger looks a little bit better just because, just in proportion with the rest of it. So, and then I would really go in and, where all of these connect, I would just spend some attention, just the way that they connect, meet up with the piece, because that's what makes it look like it's just, not a single caricature. But overall, it looks really nice. So if you go in and just put each word on a different layer, I mean, there's other, if you go up into the layer styles, you could add a really light colored stroke on this and it would be easy. Oh, that's horrible. It would be easier to see, but I mean, again, this is too many pixels, so I'm going to say like 4, even 3. I mean, all of these layer styles are really easy to overdo, and they start to look really cheesy. That looks terrible, but it is a way to make it stand out. That's the way the warp doesn't work, because you can't really read it. It would be better if you just put each one on a different layer and just work with different text. And also, even this font, I would go to, I'm not sure if, I would go to DaFont. Let me see here. This is dafont.com right here. So if you go into like techno fonts, there's all different kinds of really cool fonts that kind of look more like computer type fonts, and these are all free. So you download them and they're really easy to install. If you have any problems with that, just let me know. I mean, there's just so many different cool fonts. Again, just make sure that you make it so it's readable. That's the main thing. Everybody goes crazy with the fonts and then you can't read it. But again, just have a look here. There's so many there's just so many different fonts. It's just, look at this is more than 21 pages of just this one area of fonts. So that's something else I would suggest, and that will really work to really really create some attention and so on. Okay, so again, the background color, the fonts, and also just the way some of the stuff connects here. Maybe put the foot image in front of the RAM. Maybe that would solve it. Maybe if you move this down and add a little shadow around it, that would work out as well. Again, what I mean by the shadow, kind of what he did. I don't know if you can see this. Kind of what he did here, but you don't have to do it like this. You can just kind of add a shadow. It does actually make it look more cohesive. You could do that here. You can do it in a couple other places as well. And I would really work on this flat area. Maybe you don't want it to have this much detail, because this is the one part that's kind of ambiguous. Like, I love the way the shape is, and I think that all the detail on this, the top of this computer could, I don't know, I think it's detracting from some of the other really cool stuff, in the rest of the caricature. Okay, so anyway, I've gone on long enough. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I think overall, I think you've done a really good job this week. So yeah, keep up the good work. And if you want want feedback during the week, just just grab me on Hangouts or email me. I can give you more feedback before you post again if you want it. Okay.